Om Sahana Vavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. And we'll attempt to share the screen. Share. Here we go, December 3rd in Asia. Here we go. And our first topic. Life's challenges are not to be avoided. Interesting idea. We can recoil from difficulties or brave them. Here are 3 insights that offer hope and strength when times turn tough. PubDesk from 2022. A common perspective on major challenges is that we would prefer a life without them. Why would anyone want to face all these difficult times, to regularly wake up in the morning and be seriously challenged by life? Good question. Gurudeva held a different perspective. He said, "This is why we are born on this planet, to evolve through challenges." That's worth repeating. This is why we are born on this planet, to evolve through challenges. So we need challenges to evolve, which he will explain a little bit more in detail in a few more slides. We are here for no other reason. So why do we evolve through challenges? Why is that so? Question for you. What is it about challenges that facing them, working through them, causes us to evolve? What Gurudeva was telling us is that it is actually by living through major challenges and thereby gaining better control over our instinctive and intellectual natures that we progress spiritually. So facing challenges helps us increase our control over our instinctive and intellectual natures in order to handle it successfully. We have to do that, forces us to do that. We can compare this idea to Gurudeva's comment on being peaceful. He stated that it is fine to learn to be peaceful in a quiet place, but that eventually you have to learn to be peaceful in the midst of intense activity. When I think of intense activity, I always think of Manhattan. So many people doing so many different things in such a small space. Very intense. Likewise, we need to learn the ability to have good self-control in simple daily interactions. We do that first. But eventually be able to achieve self-control even when facing major challenges. If your peace cannot be disturbed in any situation, it is a permanent treasure. Gurudeva gives a mystical insight into the secret of self-control, which is that what we experience in the world is a reflection of what is in our mind. That's something that you don't necessarily think about. You change your own circumstances all the time, whether you know it or not. Even your mind is different today than it was a week ago. The various experiences you have brought to yourself have made it that way. The point to realize is that you can gain the intricate control of the various things that change in and about you. So that's a good one to ask a question about. How do you think that can be done? how can you gain an intricate control? Answer is, lean the thoughts and feelings of your creation in the right direction and discover how quickly your circumstances will change their direction. This is the secret of self-control, says Gurudeva. This is the practice of yoga. Try it and lose the habit of concern, for concern is only a byproduct of a part of the mind being out of control. Probably didn't think about that one either. Concern is only a byproduct of a part of the mind being out of control. In other words, increasing our self-control is not just getting better at handling what is happening outside of us. It also includes right handling of our thoughts and feelings. And we have a story. On a regular basis, I meet with families visiting the monastery. Generally, it is in the morning after the family has attended the Shiva Puja, which is about an hour and 40 minutes long. If a family has young children, the children have already had to sit still for what to them is a long time. Therefore, when they come to meet with me, generally their ability to sit still has been used up for the morning, and they need to keep moving around the Guru Peedam room. This particular family had two young boys around age 4 and 6. The boys wouldn't stop running around the Guru Peedam. Their running around was of concern to the father, who felt the boys should be sitting still. The boys' running eventually catalyzed the father to share, "You know, I used to be a lot calmer before we had children." And I told him, well, that's the challenge, to learn to be calm when you do have children. Then we get a great quote from the Tirukural on that. Family Dharma, the verse reads, "More imposing than a mountain is the greatness of a man who, steadfast in domestic life, has mastered self-control." The meaning is evident. It is easy to have self-control if you are single and live by yourself, for no one is by your side to disturb you. But when you're married, have young children, and must meet professional responsibilities, self-control is much harder to achieve. The goal is to face the disturbances and still maintain calm. Still maintain calm. If you are a family person, take heart. It can be done. Another context for looking at challenges relates to astrological periods. Vedic astrology, this is a disclaimer. Vedic astrology is a technical subject, and the example that follows is a simplified one. I'm not a Vedic astrologer. The popular idea is to think that astrological periods with lots of challenges are bad. Saturn, yikes. And times where everything is smooth and conducive to success are good. That is true in the sense that it is easier to accomplish important tasks in the world when your astrology is free of obstacles. However, astrological periods that indicate difficulties can also be viewed as good in that they present opportunities for making inner spiritual progress. So it may not be a great time to do something in the external world, but it's the perfect time to do something in the inner world. Through successfully facing challenges and thereby strengthening our self-control. And we get a famous quote by Gurudeva here. Gurudeva once said that his current astrology was so good that he had no challenges, kidding that he was not making any spiritual progress at all. So, some truth to that, and he was saying it jokingly. One astrological system provides this insight. This period is the start of a more inward journey during which you absorb and take in new information. It is also a time of real determination and giving up much superficiality in favor of in-depth learning and self-discipline. However, it can be a tedious and difficult period for worldly matters, and you are likely to be given extra responsibilities of one sort or another at this time. Difficult period for worldly matters, and you have extra responsibilities. So, of course, the idea is to successfully face them. And, of course, when it comes to challenges, we don't want to be overwhelmed. But as seekers on the spiritual path, we don't want our lives to be free of challenges either. In working with a group of Hindu University students at a weekend seminar, I asked the question, what is needed to achieve moksha, liberation? That's the real group there, Texas students, quite some time ago. The answer that one of the group gave was, you need to realize the self. That's what's needed to achieve moksha. And that's certainly a correct answer. But to a thoughtful person, it leads to a second question. What then is needed to realize the self? And that's the question to you. What do you think is the answer? And something that ties into what we're just talking about. The answer is not that well known. Experience in the world, lots of it. So we need a certain amount of experience in the world before we can achieve liberation from the world. In the Yoga Sutras, Sage Patanjali addresses the need for experience in the first sutra of chapter 2. What is encountered has a character of brightness, activity, and inertia. Those are the three gunas. It is embodied in the elements and the sense organs. Its purpose is to provide both experience and liberation. Oh, it's right there in Yoga Sutras. We need experience, and the world is there to provide us with experience. We first need to learn and grow in the world's vast ocean of events before we even begin to think about, let alone achieve, moksha. It is by encounters in the world and in learning to face those experiences in the right way, such as strengthening our self-control, that we ultimately end up seeking liberation. Experience, it turns out, is the path. Gurudeva explores this idea in Dancing with Shiva. How is our soul different from Shiva? Our soul body was created in the image and likeness of the primal soul, God Shiva, but it differs from the primal soul in that it is immature. While Shiva is unevolutionary perfection, we are in the process of evolving. Or as I usually say, since science looks at evolution in a different way than Hinduism, this has nothing to do with the evolution of physical life. This has to do with the evolution of the soul, the maturing of the soul body, which is not physical. So nothing to do with each other. It's just the same word, evolution, maturing, getting more perfect. His comment on the verse delves even deeper. To understand the mysteries of the soul, we distinguish between the soul body and its essence. As a soul body, we are individual and unique, different from all others, a self-effulgent being of light, which evolves and matures through an evolutionary process. The soul body is of the nature of God Shiva, but is different from Shiva in that it is less resplendent than the primal soul and still evolving, while God is unevolutionary perfection. We may liken the soul body to an acorn which contains a mighty oak tree but is a small seed yet to develop. The soul body matures through experience, evolving through many lives into the splendor of God Shiva, ultimately realizing Shiva totally in Nirvikalpa Samadhi. Even after self-realization is attained, the soul body continues to evolve in this and other worlds till it merges with the primal soul. As a drop of water merges with its source, the ocean. Yea, this is the destiny of all souls without exception. The point of this Upadesha is that the soul body, Anandamaya Kosha, is maturing through experience in the world. How does this happen? It happens through gaining greater and greater control over the instinctive intellectual nature, which we mentioned. Doing so causes the soul body to mature sufficiently to attain realization of the self. Therefore, the next time you are faced with a challenge, be it a major or minor one, accept it as an opportunity to increase your understanding, strengthen your self-control, mature your soul body, and move that much closer to realizing the transcendent self within you. Well, hopefully a little different attitude toward challenges in the future. We don't want to be overwhelmed by them, but we want sufficient challenges to feel we're increasing our control over our instinctive and intellectual natures. And let's see what our second topic is. Answering questions. We're looking again at the question we looked at last week. I've never quite fully understood the meaning of Chellapaswami saying, Eppovo Mudintha Kariyam, or it has been accomplished long ago. It will be great if Bodhinatha could touch on this Mahavakiam in future satsangs. Well, we gave one answer last time. Certainly a major reason it is difficult to understand this Mahavakiam is that it has meanings on many different levels. Last time we were looking at Akasha. Everything that will exist in the physical world already exists in the Akasha. So we're just bringing it from the Akasha into physical manifestation, but it's finished. It's not being invented, as we commonly think of the word. It's just being brought from the Akasha into physical manifestation. Today we are looking at how the inner worlds, in this case, the second world that's close to the first one, is 3 days ahead of the physical world. That's an interesting idea. The inner world that is close to the physical world is 3 days ahead of the physical world. So let's see what that means. This is from the Sarvait Shastras, which is primarily a book for monks, but parts of it really apply also to family life. So we share those parts. This is the Devas talking. When we function close to the earth, able to see physical things, we are always 3 days or 72 hours ahead of current experiential patterns. See what happens when I hit click here. Okay, that's good. That you go through. In other words, what you are going through today in the conscious mind, we have already been going through with you for 3 days in our time cycle. So that's one meaning of it's already finished. It happened 3 days ago in the inner world, so it's already finished. This is one of the reasons we insist that all Matavasis be current in discharging their duties and responsibilities, no more behind in their daily work goals than 3 days or 72 hours. When we are in constant touch with you 72 hours before an experience happens to you in the conscious mind, we are preparing you for it. Therefore, for a sublime monastery, not too many events should occur simultaneously. If a Matavasi were to present the teachings, he should know that he's going to do this 3 days before it actually occurs. In this inner mind of form where we live, just like you do in the outer mind of form, we then beginning work with him We then begin working with him, as well as those attending this session. And for 72 hours Earth time, this group has started the process of learning. It only culminates during the 3-hour vigil that the Mahavakiam holds. Therefore, a group of students should not have a session as a group in inner teachings more often than every 72 hours. This keeps them in a constant state of inner and outer learning. The Mahavakiam should know who the group is, each one, and the group should know who the Mahavakiam is, 3 days before the session occurs. This happens in all things. We are always ahead of your time by 3 days. Therefore, through prayer, that is, talking it over with us in a way that we can hear, we can work together with your inner mind to make continual adjustments within your future, which is 3 days ahead for you, but which occurs within our present. So it was all finished long ago, 3 days ago to be precise. And that's why we have the 3-day guideline for written prayers. If you want to influence an event, job interview, a test, you want to use a written prayer, you need to send the prayer, and the prayer needs to be burned, to be more specific, at least 72 hours before the event starts, in order to have maximum impact on the event. So that's 3-day, 72-hour rule. That's where it comes from, for prayers. So it's from the time it was burned, not the time you sent it. We don't always burn your prayer a few minutes after it arrives. Okay, and we're on to the third topic. Let's see what we have. Some more quotes from Yogaswami's words of our master. The more you learn, the more will the mind become expanded and diffused. Directing the mind inwards will give you peace. And my comment, it is easy in our digital age to take in more information than we are able to properly process. Gurudeva explains this idea in Living with Shiva. Have you ever given thought to the diet of your mind? Of course, our physical diet and our emotional diet are also diets of the mind because they affect our consciousness. But let's now consider the intellectual processes. How much information, how many facts is it necessary and healthy for us to ingest in a single day? It's a good idea for a devotee to budget his reading, to choose and discriminate what he wants to make a part of himself through the process of mental digestion. We have to discriminate to the nth degree whether or not we will have the time and the capacity to digest everything that we desire to place in our minds. For instance, quickly reading an article in a newspaper might stir your mind and emotions. If it is not properly digested, it could conceivably upset your whole day. In the realm of intellect, the common sense rule, don't eat when you are already full, also applies. So that's a very important point, and one way to maximize mental digestion is after you take in something, you're reading something, you're watching news, ask, what does that mean to me? And that forces mental digestion to take place. If you don't ask any questions about it, it may just be coming in without really being digested. And as Gurudeva says, then that can upset you. So we don't want that. Okay. You may read a book of philosophy, and if you have time to digest it, well and good. But many people don't and suffer from philosophical indigestion. They have read so many things and only digest a small part of what has passed through the window of the mind. Then again, it is one thing to digest something, and it is still another to assimilate it and make it a part of you. For when it becomes fully a part of you, you have a hunger and room for something more. So that's that idea of what does it mean to me? It becomes a part of you. Many people come to lectures and then tune themselves out and simply benefit from the vibration created by the teacher and others in the room. They tune themselves out so that what is said is not absorbed consciously, but rather subconsciously. This is a good method for those who are still digesting material received from previous lectures. Another practice that makes for a very good mental indigestion pill is that of opening a spiritual book and allowing your eye to fall upon a random sentence on the page. Often you will find it will accent ideas that you are currently concerned with. And that's the end of our topics.